Welcome back to my series on trading with Python. In this series, in case you haven't seen the earlier parts, I am showing how to write Python scripts that use MetaTrader to communicate with the broker and place trades. If you haven't seen the earlier parts, I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video where you can see the playlist for all the parts of this series. And in this part, I'm pulling together the information from the first three parts to create a full trading robot. And because this is the beginner trading robot, I'm going back to my good old moving average cross strategy. So I have open on screen here VS Code. You can see here on the left, the first three parts were the simple Pi alert, which just monitored the price, and so it demonstrated how you can access the prices in MetaTrader. The MA monitor then showed how you can calculate moving averages and monitor those in MetaTrader. And last part that we had was open trade, which simply showed how to open a trade in MetaTrader. So I'm going to pull those three together now to create a full moving average cross trading robot. I have already created a file here, macross.py, in the folder 04 macross. This file so far is just a copy of the opentrade.py. So I'm going to make the changes to that and copy in pieces from the earlier parts. And just working down from the top, I'm going to need another package. It's a package we have used before. I'm going to need pandas. I also showed in the last part how I moved the configuration data out of the main application here and I put them into a config file, config1. I've already copied this config1 from the last project into the macross here, so it's available. But I have to make some changes to the values, and I'm also going to further change the syntax I used. Previously I put the data in here, symbol equals, so on, and then back in macross here I would have copied these data or these values from config into simple named variables here. I'm going to do away with these simple named variables and I'm just going to use config dot throughout the rest of the code. But for a moving average, there are some changes. I'm still using Euro USD, that's my go-to, for example, a magic number, and I'm going to be trading 0.01 lots. I don't need the order type because that was for the last demonstration. I do need some moving average information though. So some moving average information. The time frame for my moving average is going to be the 1 minute, and I'm setting that so that I can get some very fast movement so that when I eventually get this finished I can see something happen fairly quickly. I'm going to use a 10 period fast moving average and a 20 period slow moving average, both of these based on close, and this is going to be a simple moving average calculation. My stop loss, I'll leave that at 0.005 and the take profit at 0.01 and price deviation or slippage at 0. This is the same basic structure. I'll call the init. If that's successful, then I will loop through the main processing loop and I will sleep in between for 5 seconds. I have said previously I should turn that into some kind of constant, so that just makes it a little easier to change this value without having to search for it through the code by putting these kind of constants up at the top. And if the loop exits, then I'll call dinit. Now, there is not going to be any condition where this loop will exit in the code that I'm writing today, but that's something for the future. The init section, I'm just going to add a little bit more code to this. In case MT5 initialize fails, then I've got an error message here. I'm just going to put a progress message in. So previously I just had symbol, now I've said I'm going to be bringing all of those from config, so config.symbol, and then I'm going to just print a message to say that that symbol is available. This statement is all about making sure that the symbol you're trying to trade is available in MarketWatch. And I think that's all I need for my init. I'm not going to worry about any error checking on the inputs for the time being. Now in the loop I'm going to add that I will only have one trade open at a time. Doesn't matter if it's a buy or a sell, just one trade at a time. So I need to put in some code here to count the number of positions that I have open. So in the top of the loop here I'm going to put a check for the number of trades open that match this symbol and magic number, and if there's already a trade open then I'll just exit from the loop at that point. So I'm going to call a function get position count. I have to write that function. I'll do that now. I'm going to pass in the symbol and the magic number. That way this will become a more generic function and it's not tied to the values that are global inside this particular trading robot. So if I get a count of more than 0, then I'm just going to return true, and true will mean that this loop simply moves on to the next statement, sleeps for cycle time, and then begins again. So let's write this get position count. I'll go down to the bottom of the code here. So there's a function available, positions underscore get, that gets me basically a list of all the positions. I'm passing in the symbol equal to this symbol argument. I probably should have changed the argument names, but I'm not. That's the argument value, and that's the magic value that were passed in. These are just labels attached to those two. So I'm finding a list of all the positions that match the symbol and the magic. If it returns none, some kind of error, then I'll say there are no positions. And if it returns something here, then I'll return the length of the positions, which just tells me how many there are. So now I want to get the price data from past bars, and I did that earlier in the MA monitor. So let me just copy some code from here. First I'm going to calculate how many bars of data that I want, and to be safe, because I'm not including any checks here to see if the slow is greater than the fast or the fast is greater than the slow number of bars that you have, I'm just going to do, so my number of bars that I want in getting rates back is just going to be the total of the slow period plus the fast period, and that should give me enough for all the calculations I need. Actually, I'll just add more because I want at least 3 bars, so I'll add 3 to that. Now this code I'm going to separate out into another function, so I will call that function Okay, so first statement here just gets all of the rates for the symbol time frame beginning at 0 for the number of bars specified. And if nothing comes back, then I just no rates and return none. If I do get rates, then I convert that to a rates frame, pd.dataframe rates, and then I return that rates frame. So now I have a data frame that contains all of the rates data from each of the bars going back for bar count. And I've returned that back to my main function, so let me go back up. So now I have the rates frame, and there's a possibility that that came back with a none, so I just return true, which will cause the loop to restart. And now I need to calculate the moving average. I'm going to have a calculate moving average function. I'll actually write that function first before I use it here. Again, you would have seen this in the earlier part, calculating the simple moving average. I'm just taking the source name. So when I pass this in, I'm going to pass that close column name. So I want to calculate the moving average based on close prices. So that will take the close price. I'm using the rolling value with the window size equal to the period, and I'll be passing in the moving average period, either the fast or slow period. And then I'm calculating the mean of that set of data and putting that into result name, which will be moving average. At the same time, I'm going to return frame result name.values. Now this is an old syntax, I suppose, but it still works and it's easy to understand. So I'm going to use that here. That will simply return what's basically that single column of data from the frame. And you'll see why I'm returning that in a moment when I use this. So now you can see where I'm using it. I'm passing in the rates frame, which is just the raw data that I have here. I'm passing in the price, MA price from the config, which I set to close, and the period for the fast moving average. And I want that result to be put into the data, it will go back into this same data frame as fast MA, but I'm also returning just that fast MA data in this fast MA variable. I'll just copy that for the slow. So now I have a series of fast moving average prices and slow moving average prices. I can get rid of this line that I copied in. And I'm ready to compare those to determine if I need to make a trade. And I'm ready to compare those to see if I need to make a trade. Now remember that in indexing these are indexed, the last element of the array is element number -1. And the element before that is -2, and so on. I'm going to be looking at the closed bar. -1 is what in MetaTrader would be bar number 0, and -2 is what in MetaTrader would be bar number 1. So I'm comparing the values from bar number -2 and -3. So if fast moving average -2, bar number 1, is less than slow moving average -2, and fast moving average -3 is greater than slow moving average -3, then it means that the fast moving average has dipped underneath the slow moving average. So I'm going to sell. There's another function that I'm about to write, open position. I pass in order type sell. I'm passing in, I keep doing that. The symbol from the config, the volume from the config, the stop loss and take profit, and the magic number, and the deviation and magic number. I'm not going to be allowing for situations where stop loss or take profit might be 0. I'm going to assume that you always set those for this example. I will write the open position function, and then I'll come back and add the order type buy. So the first thing I've done in this function is to build up an object request. Now if we go back to the example that I had that I'm using as the basis for this, in fact I'll just copy all of this code. I'll move all of this code down here. So First is a call to get request. Rather than build up this request inside the code inline, I'm just separating that out to another function. So I will create that now. And in here, I'm going to take all of that code replace these. What previously I'd used global variables here, but I want this to be a more generic function, so I'm replacing them all with these. And I do want to calculate the price. So also take all of that code. So in here I'm getting the price for the symbol, and if that's a none, then I fail to get the price information for that symbol, and I just return true. Actually, I return none now. And then depending on the order type, it's only going to be a buy or a sell for this example. So if it's a buy, then the price that I want to trade at will be the ask price. The stop loss price will be the bid minus stop loss. So ask, stop loss, bid minus stop loss, or bid plus take profit, and the opposite then for sell. So now I have price, stop loss, price, take profit, price deviation. I'm going to change this type filling. I mean, what should I make that? I'm going to say that this order is good till cancelled. What's that? I think that's type time. Going to make that, instead of IOC, that's going to be fill or kill, comma. Then I can just return request. So that function get request will get me the request object that I need. Just shrink that. And as I said, if request is none, then return. So if I have a problem in any of those calculations, I'll be returning a none, and then it will exit the open position. Result equals MT5 order send request. So I'm just sending this request object through to MetaTrader 5, which takes care of everything for placing that order. And here I think the rest of this should be fine. MT5 trade writ code done means that it was successful. And if not, then I print an error message and the result, and if it is successful, then I'll print the result. Okay, so that's open position written. And then I just want to duplicate this for the sell condition. Oh, yes, duplicate that for the sell condition. So that's as simple as greater than, less than, and this is be an order type. So I want to duplicate it for the buy condition. Now if this is true, then this can't be true. So I'm just going to add here a return, which will simply exit this function and go back to the loop and continue looking for the next trade to make. I don't need to have the same thing here because there is nothing else to do. I can just delete these blank lines, but I'm not going to return false. False was the condition I used in the last part to simply exit after making one trade. I'm going to return true. So this will loop infinitely until I do something like press Ctrl+C on the keyboard to kill it off. And it will look each time to see if the moving averages have swapped, and if they have, then it will try to place a trade, assuming that there are no trades already there. I think that is everything. It should be. Now, if I were writing this in MetaTrader, I would jump straight into doing a back test to test the code and show how it works. Back tests using Python are more difficult, and so my approach to that is I'm just not going to do it. What I will do instead, and the reason that I set these to a 1 minute chart with relatively short periods, I'm just going to start this running and come back later and then see the results and see which trades it's made. I do have MetaTrader 5 already open here, so I can see that I've obviously tested this at some point and run a trade, but I have no trades open at the moment. I will clear the experts and the journal tab, then I will start the script, and assuming I don't get any errors when I first start it, which is possible, I will just let it run. I'll stop the video here and I'll come back when it's made some trades so you can see what happened. It shouldn't have printed that. It should have printed something better. I know what I've done wrong there. It's not an important thing, but I will fix it. Successfully initialized symbol. I need the F in front of that for a formatted string. Start again. And as I said, I'm just going to leave that to run now. I'm just back quickly with two things. I have placed a trade now. I can see that here. And if I look at the script, I can see the information from the trade that was placed. So that has worked. And you can see on the chart that happened when the price crossed. It happened at the opening of the candle just after the moving averages crossed. But what I didn't think about, the stop loss and take profit are a long way apart. I don't know if you can see them on the video, but the stop loss is way up here and take profit is way down here. I left them too big. The other thing is that when I first ran this, I did get an error. I'll show you the error here. In the get request, I think I had order underscore type here, which was copied from the earlier pieces. I needed to change that to type so it matched this. So I got an error earlier. I just fixed that and carried on until this point. What I'm going to do now is change the stop loss and take profit to something smaller. If I leave them there, then because this will only take one trade at a time, it probably won't take any more trades today. So I'm going to change those and run it again and come back and see if I can get some more trades. Alright, I'm back again, and I have changed the take profit and stop loss. You can see they're much closer to the price here. It's traded again when the moving average is crossed. After I restarted the script, it's got the same message again where it opened a trade. Here in history, this is the one that it placed earlier that I manually closed out so that we could make a new trade. So that's working. It placed a sell earlier. If I look at the history, that was a sell trade. And it's now placed a buy trade because the yellow line has moved above the blue. So that's working. It's, as I said, a very simple trading robot, and I have a lot more things to add to this in the future, but I don't want to crowd up these videos too much by trying to cover everything at once. So there you have it. Hope it's been useful for you. Click like, subscribe, and the bell icon if you've liked this and if you want to see more of these videos. So until the next time, thank you for watching.